Hi, I'm Matt Fuller from Jackson Fuller Real Estate. Welcome to my podcast, Escrow Out Loud. Today, I wanted to share something that the California Association of Realtors has been up to. Back in 1963 and 1964, the California Association of Realtors wrote, sponsored, and promoted Proposition 14. Proposition 14 was a proposition that actually wrote discrimination into the California state constitution, and it was designed to undo the 1963 Rumford Fair Housing Act. Proposition 14 was passed by the voters of California with 65% of voters voting yes. Proposition 14 would go on to be ruled as unconstitutional by the California State Supreme Court in 1967, and in 1968, the United States Supreme Court affirmed that decision. In 2021, I did a 3-part podcast about racism in real estate because up until 2021, I didn't even know that Proposition 14 had been a thing. In that research and writing for that podcast series, I was fortunate enough to have the then president of the California Association of Realtors, David Walsh, come on the podcast and issue an apology. Since the 3-part podcast series aired and David Walsh came on and gave an informal apology, something more has happened since then. Collaborating with the California Association of Realtors, Region 8, we formally started the process to request an apology from the California Association of Realtors. So Region 8 took up this request and decided as a group that it was worth pursuing. So from that point on, lots of committees, committee after committee probably, at the California Association of Realtors was involved in looking at, researching, and making some decisions about this issue. After all of that work was done by all of those various people and committees, it ended up on the floor of the business meeting for the California Association of Realtors in the fall of 2022. The California Association of Realtors voted formally to apologize for Proposition 14 and other past actions of our association. I view the apology as the beginning of the next part of this process. My experience with life is that until you're willing to admit you've got a problem, there's absolutely nothing you can do to address the problem. So it will take the collective wisdom of many people to continue moving this forward, but I'm very proud and thankful that the California Association of Realtors has at least been willing to acknowledge it. So many people helped to make this happen. I'd like to start by recognizing the person who introduced me and even made me aware of Proposition 14. In all of my fair housing and real estate education classes, not once had I ever heard or been told or taught about Proposition 14. So for simply making me aware of it, that I could learn and research, I'd like to thank Kevin Birmingham, the founder and broker at Park North Real Estate. I would like to thank Wikipedia and all of the other reputable sources of information on the internet. Once my friend Kevin had turned me on the awareness of Proposition 14, some research revealed so much information from newspaper clippings to academic articles. There's a wealth of information that's actually available about Prop 14, and it was eye-opening to find it all. I would like to thank my former trainer for introducing me to the book White Fragility. It was influential in helping me approach how I wanted to talk about racism and real estate and shape my 3-part podcast series. The California Association of Realtors deserves credit for not only making this vote, but for choosing to hold a press conference to publicize it. Our show notes contain a link to the entire press conference, as well as a list of many of the individuals who helped make this possible. Hey listeners, I want to thank you most of all. I made this podcast and these episodes about racism and real estate knowing that you would be out there listening to them. You are my motivating factor, so thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast about how that podcast came to be, and want to let you know that I'll be here making videos all through the year, and I hope to see a lot more of you. Please subscribe and leave a nice comment.